for our
Perfect. And
coaches.
excited. I'm excited to do these again and continue to build this. So again, I want to open up the offer to do another round, because what you're going to find is I'm going to go into a very specific kind of drill today, and I think there are perceptions that of what a drill looks like. And these might fit into one particular category of drills. Like, we might think of these as form shooting drills. I'm using a slightly different terminology, but that's basically what they are. And then the next time that we meet, we can maybe talk about a different type of drill, all of which, to me, are form shooting drills. All of these drills that we can talk about are to work on shooting form. And so let me now I'm still not, this is only the second teams I've done, so I have to figure out. Bear with me. Okay, are you guys seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about movement coordination drills, which is the expression that I give for form shooting drills. The reason I make the distinction is I think form shooting drills are any could be any type of drills. Any type of drill could work on our shooting form and probably should be working on our shooting form. These specifically are the drills that I use to help players coordinate a new movement. That they have an existing habit, and we're using these drills to help them find and explore new movements, new habits. So these should only be used so that players have a simple situation in which to be very deliberate about specific habits. We're not going to do these drills in the time that we are just visiting with players. This is not a mindless repetition drill. We want to do these drills when we know specifically what habit we're working on, and then we're holding a player accountable to those habits while doing the drills. The drills are slow and deliberate, and they're slow and deliberate for a purpose. And the purpose is to give the player time to be mindful and aware of where their body is and putting it in a more optimal position. Then these drills should only be done for a minimal amount of time, with as much variation as we possibly can add and as much game representativeness as we can possibly add. And that's something that we're going to talk about in the last few minutes of the presentation. Is that how to add game representative and variation. Again, we will only make it simple as it needs to be in order to get the habit right, but then we need to make it as game representative, as much like a game as we possibly can. And that doesn't mean that it needs to 100% resemble a game. It may only be 25% game representative, but that adding in that 25 instead of standing in one spot increases the likelihood of transfer either from that drill into a game, or more likely that drill into the next variation of the drill that we'll do, which will help guide us towards the game. So these are a couple of short videos And I might just let these run as I talk over them. Reduce the sound here. So isolation drill is usually the first drill that I'll do with players. It begins at the set point. The drill starts in the position that you see me in the graphic, because I believe that's truly the beginning of the shooting motion. All of the positions that the ball are in before that are important, but they're going to be highly variable in games. And because the hand isn't yet underneath the ball as we begin lifting it, we're not in a position to shoot it yet. The position that you see me in, which I call the set point, where the hand is finally underneath the basketball, that is the beginning of the shooting motion. The ball has stopped changing direction to go back towards my body and is now going to move up and forward as I shoot the ball. The purpose of this drill is to learn the feeling of a more optimal set point, to learn how the player has historically missed this set point, how they've been out of position, and put them in a position, the more optimal position, and let them learn what that feels like and how to correct that motion. So this is a very simple, deliberate drill. We put the ball up at the set point and hold it for 3 seconds. And those 3 seconds are really what the drill is about. The 3 seconds give the player a chance to be mindful and deliberate. So we start by setting up the lower body. We get into an athletic body posture. I try not to do this straight-legged. I want the upper arm parallel to the floor. I'll go back to that here. So we're moving fairly quick. I want the upper arm parallel to the floor so that we have room to still lift the elbow out of this position and generate force up. And I want the hand underneath the ball with the fingers slightly towards the back, so that I'm applying force to the bottom of the ball. The ball is going to go in the opposite direction of wherever we apply force. I would like the ball to be traveling in the direction of this seam, and that's why I positioned the seams the way they are in the video, so that you could see that this is the direction I would like the ball to go. My fingers need to be opposite of that direction so that I can apply force in the correct direction. So upper arm parallel, wrist bent back. Oh, sorry, I went backwards. And the motion begins by lifting the elbow. Young players make the mistake because they're not strong enough to get both distance and arc. And they like distance. Distance is fun. They begin by pushing the ball forward and their hand moves forward, then their elbow lifts. We need elbow to begin the lifting motion. The most important thing, this is really a constraint-led drill, which is something that we'll talk about in a future presentation at some point. A constraint-led drill is a drill where constraints that we put on the drill guide players towards discovering the things that we need them to discover, rather than my instruction, my coaching teaching them. The drill hopefully teaches them. So by removing the guide hand, and I do that at the beginning of the 3 seconds, that forces the player to put their hand in a position where their shooting hand is controlling the ball by itself. And really, this is where 90% of mistakes in shooting get made, is the shooting hand gets out of position at the set point. And a lot of those come from the fact that the guide hand is allowing the shooting hand to get out of position. The guide hand is doing too much work so that the shooting hand then doesn't have to do enough. And we need the shooting hand to be doing 100% of the work. So from that set point position, I remove the guide hand. I then hold that shooting hand position still during the 3 seconds to be aware of a tiny little detail that I believe is the next teaching point, and it is good. So the whole point of doing this drill is that pointer finger, the index finger, to be right at the bottom of the basketball. So if we imagine the ball being a clock, we want that index finger, which is the middle of most people's hand, to be on the bottom of the basketball, parallel to the target line, parallel to the imaginary line between myself and the hoop. And since the index finger is the middle of most players' grips, I believe we talked about that in the earlier presentation, that's why we want it on the bottom of the basketball. We'll now be supporting both sides of the ball evenly. And the alignment of that finger allows me to stay on the middle of the basketball as I snap my wrist. If my finger's across the line, then as I snap my wrist, I'm going to be coming off the middle of the ball and potentially pushing the ball in the opposite direction. And let me just go to some of the common mistakes that we'll see. The biggest thing that I'll talk about. Let me go back to. I'll just do it here. Do not assume that learning occurs in one spot on the floor. You saw me in the video shooting from just inside the free throw line, the middle of the floor, fairly close to the rim. This was so that we could make recording the video easy. This is not because that is where learning occurs or form shooting should be done from. There's nothing magic about this spot on the floor that I'm standing. And so our goal as coaches is to add as much variability as a player can handle. And one of the easiest and the first ways that we should be adding variability is by having them move to a different spot on every shot. So don't stand in one spot doing these drills over and over and over again. It's no more difficult for a player to move to the same distance, but 2 feet from the left and now have a different view of the rim. They will now learn not only the habit that we're trying to get them to learn and the feeling of that habit and how to execute it, but they'll also learn how to do that from different spots on the floor. And because they're on different spots on the floor, they're probably going to have slightly different distances, and they're going to learn to judge distance a little bit more. If we have them stand in the same spot, they are only learning the movement and they're not learning to apply it from different spots on the floor from slightly different distances. And they're going to have to learn to do that eventually. So since it doesn't increase the level of difficulty of the drill at all, I would encourage immediately add the variability of, okay, you've shot one shot from the middle of the floor, now move a couple of feet, a meter to the left, to the right, shoot the next shot from there. The next one's down on the baseline. The next one's down on the other side of the baseline. The distance might stay the same or be very close, but hopefully we should have a window. I find most players can, if we take this court, can start between the white line and 2 steps inside the free throw line, or 1 step off the charge circle. This window here for most players will be a really appropriate distance for them to start doing isolation drill from. So ABC shooting is the next drill. Very, very similar drill, but the purpose of this now is to learn how to find that optimal set point, making an efficient movement. So most players, the mistakes they make usually come to a head at the set point. It's usually set point related. We've just spent time with isolation drill learning what the more optimal position feels like. Now we're going to start from triple threat position and lift the ball to the set point, stop, add the constraint of taking our guide hand off the basketball and lifting out of that position. So I'll let this run for a second. So I started, lifted, remove the guide hand, and basically do isolation drill again from there. So some of the keys, same thing, athletic body posture and wide feet. We want to make this as game representative as we possibly can. These are the body positions that we're going to be in a game. Let's try to be in them when we do this drill. So it's not straight-legged. It's not upright. We're in a basketball body position, a shooting body position. Oh, shoot. I hit the wrong button. And I went back to slide 2. Why is it not letting me pause? Forgive me. Okay. Shooting hand. I want to learn the optimal position. The optimal position is if I want to end up at my set point with my index finger on the bottom of the basketball, parallel to the target line. The most optimal move I can make from triple threat position is going to be in a straight line. If I work my way backwards from triple threat position, I would want my index finger on the top of the basketball, parallel to the target line at my starting point. The starting point, if I lift the ball straight up in the air, is going to lead me directly to the set point that I want to be in. Guide hand, I would like that to be on the side of the basketball, because if I lift that in the ball in a straight line, the guide hand is going to be led to exactly the position that I would like to be in. Ball close to the body, protect the basketball more so than keeping the ball from changing direction. It is more protecting the basketball. The research that we've done has shown that the ball changing the direction has as many benefits as it does drawbacks, and the idea of teaching that the ball should not change direction might actually be holding players back as opposed to helping them. So we lift up to the set point, and at this set point, we want to have the guide hand come off the ball. That's the constraint that we're putting on the drill that will guide the player towards discovering where their shooting hand needs to be to push the ball by itself. And we're lifting the ball in a straight line to get there. When we get there, middle of the hand, the index finger underneath the center of the basketball, parallel to the target line. With most players, that is probably going to be the primary focus for them. There's a variety of different ways they can mix this up. They can be out of position, and it's usually the finger's not on the bottom of the basketball. It's towards one side or the other, or towards the back, or it's not parallel to the target line. That finger is really what the drill. All these drills are about. So lift to that set point, stop, and make sure that we're in the correct position, and then remove the guide hand and fire legs, elbow, and wrist all together at the same time. That's where a lot of the power in the shot comes from, is the synchronization of all those joints pushing. We don't want to stand up and as we're lifting the ball from A position to B position, we don't want to stand up with our legs. We would like the legs to stay down until we get to our B position, and then fire through. The C position is really the release of the ball from your hand. The last progression in these movement coordination drills is what I call slow to quick. So in ABC, the previous drill, I had I had the ball stopping so that the player could be aware of where their finger was or where this set point and are they in the optimal position. Now with slow to quick, I'm trying to get the player into that same optimal position without having to stop in it. But in the early stages of learning, they might need time in order to be aware and feel that position. And so rather than stopping to give them the time, I'll just have them move the ball slowly so that they have time to be aware. And once they get into that position, instead of stopping, they fire through that position. So play this. Lifting the ball slowly, right hand comes off, and then accelerate out. I try and encourage players to take about 4 seconds to get from the set from triple threat position to the set point, and then not sure if I can get to a frame where you can see my guide hand is starting to come off the ball. I'm actively releasing my guide hand as soon as I get to that set point and then firing out of that position from there. You'll notice the lower body doesn't push until the ball gets to the set point. Remove the guide hand. So all the same ideas that we've been talking about. Make it as game representative as we possibly can. Wide feet, athletic body posture. Don't do this in an unathletic body position. Get the middle of the hand on the middle of the basketball, the same as ABC. Lift the ball slowly in a straight line, and being aware of that index finger, that it will arrive in the correct position once we get to that set point. That you now have 4 seconds as the ball's moving up to be aware of your finger going across the target line or coming off the middle of the ball. So that's what we're paying attention to as coaches and as players in the drill. And once we get to that correct set point, the guide hand, let's see if I can find that moment. There we go. The guide hand is actively coming off the ball. That's a constraint on the drill that forces the shooting hand to stay in the right position, and we lift up from there. So we're going to try to keep the ball moving, even if it's moving slowly. We keep the ball moving and then accelerate from there. So those are the 3 form shooting movement coordination drills that a progression that I'll put players through just about every single player. And these will start off as a workout where learning to get to slow to quick. We start and we do several minutes of isolation drill and then move on and several minutes of ABC, trying to get to slow to quick, adding as much variability as I can by moving them to different distances, at different spots on the floor. But being very mindful of a very specific habit that is personal to that person. How do they miss? In what way do they miss the set point? In what way are they creating negative energy? Once we've done that and we've started to get to the point where we are able to execute a fairly reliable movement that it's been coordinated, and we're starting to see that the player's able to control this kind of movement. That doesn't mean they're doing it perfectly, but they're showing improvement. Then it's my job to start to add layers to this to increase the level of challenge as they get better at the skill. So this goes back to an idea called the challenge point, where learning is optimized. We don't want to stay doing very, very simple things if a player is doing them extremely well. The second that they're doing something well, if it's not game representative, we need to be increasing the level of challenge so that it becomes more game representative and it remains challenging. I'll do this by adding these 7 different layers: distance, speed, movement, catches, dribbles, defenders, and decisions. So I showed you that window that I think is the optimal window for players to start doing isolation drill ABC slow to quick from. Just a step inside, or a step or 2 inside the free throw line. If they start doing this well, then I will test, can they do it from further out? If they can do it further out, that will be slightly more challenging. I'll ask them to do it faster instead of going through A, B, C at that tempo. Can they do it at A, B, C? Faster will be more challenging. If they can't, I'll slow it down. I'll take away the distance, or I'll take away some of the speed. If they can, then it's more game representative, and it's going to transfer to the a game situation more easily. What I think makes this unique, and what I'd really like to challenge you to do, is your form shooting should involve movement. As soon as you possibly can, and I'm even with a brand new player, a player I've never worked with that has a very specific habit that they're working on, I'll usually be adding movement within the first 20 minutes of working out. That I used to, years ago, do these drills stationary for weeks, thinking that I needed to master these habits before I moved on. And now I'm realizing that we can add in the movement almost right away if we can be smart about how much movement we're adding in. So I start with just a simple hop forward, push off of both feet, land on 2 feet, and then do ABC, or then do slow to quick. And it might be that they hop forward, land, stop, and then do ABC, and it's very deliberate, it's very segmented. But as they get better, I'll add speed to that movement, so they're doing the movement faster. I'll have them jump to the side. I'll have them jump backwards. I'll have them jump to the side and rotate. I'm usually just starting with one step, but in a variety of different ways, in the kinds of movements that they will be making at the end of all kinds of these basketball movements. Again, it's a simple way to add variability and game representativeness to increase the challenge. I'll start to add catches to the form shooting drill, that while you're hopping, I'm also tossing you the basketball. You have to catch it, stop your movement into ABC or into slow to quick. I'll do the same thing with dribbles. I'll add defenders, and this doesn't mean live defense. This may just start with somebody standing in front of you, putting a hand up that's not actually trying to stop you. They're just another body. Or they're moving with you, but their hands are behind their back. I'll put constraints on defenders all the time to just give an appropriate level of defense. And then I'll force players to make decisions. And this usually starts with an either or decision, where they have to read something that I'm doing as the defender and decide where space might be to shoot the shot, and then do the form shooting drill after they move to that spot. And so all of these things, it's still the form shooting drill of ABC or slow to quick at the end of it, but it is now starting to incorporate some of these layers that make the drill more game representative. And the whole point is to make the drill more challenging as they get better at the habits. So that's going to end my formal presentation. Let me see now if I can get out of here. Back to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, you're going to be here. There you are. You're just, oh, stop sharing. You're just seeing me now?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'll open up if anybody has any questions, if you'd like to clarify anything from that.
Hello. On which age do you recommend to start these drills? Thanks.
I would recommend you start this around 11 years old. And the younger the player is, the less I would do it. So if somebody is 9 years old, I might do these kind of drills for 5 repetitions a day, like a very, very, very small number. I don't want them. They're not strong enough to be able to do this well. So I don't want to practice in a way that implies that that's my expectation. I don't want to waste my time by practicing something they have no chance of doing well. But I do want to plant a seed. I do want them to start to get somewhat familiar with what those the feelings of those positions. And so I'll do a very, very small number of reps and then move on. Once they get to around 11 years old, they're starting to become strong enough to be able to do this. And so I would increase the number of reps to 50 a day, trying to actually build a habit. But stretching that out over a long period of time. The nice part is with an 11-year-old, you have decades to get better. That it's not that it has to change in one workout or in 1 month. It can slowly evolve. And so start that evolutionary process of okay, here's what this position feels like, and spend more reps on it. Once somebody gets to 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, they're probably strong enough to do this well. Hopefully we've planted enough seeds along the way that we no longer have to be super deliberate, and that we're able to just make little adjustments with other kinds of drills that we don't need to get this deliberate about it anymore. But if they're the solution that they've found, the way that they shoot the basketball isn't working, then we might need a more deliberate coaching intervention that looks like this, that looks like these deliberate form shooting or movement coordination drills.
Coach, I have a question about the volume per week. Why you suggest 1,000 shooting per week? From which place these numbers you can get?
Sorry, could you ask that again, Klaus? Somebody's identified 1,000 shots per week.
Yeah. You suggest before when we discuss about the volume, what the youngsters need to shot per week. You suggest 1,000 shots per week, and my question to you is why 1,000, and maybe why not 2 or 3 or maybe 500 shots per week?
200 or 300 per week is only a handful of shots a day. 200, that would be 30 shots a day. That's not very many. So in that 1,000, I'm including all shots, and so not just a deliberate movement coordination form shooting drill, but all shots taken. The foundation is we need to be shooting a lot. And in order for players really to be better shooters, they need to have a lot of experience shooting the basketball and I think you can be, especially if you're being deliberate in how you're practicing, 200 reps a day can do wonders. And I think most players can get that done in 40 minutes. Now, more is better if there's purpose to it. So a purposeful 2,000 shots would be better than a purposeful 1,000 shots. But a purposeful 1,000 will be better than 3,000 that lack any focus. More is better. I think around 1,200 per day would be a great goal to shoot from, or to shoot for. Pardon the expression.
Thank you, Coach. And
my pleasure.
This volume is also depends on the year or not. Or this is for, you suggest for all of the youngsters to do this kind of volume?
I would say players need to practice, and it's our job at the young age to make it fun for them, so that they want to practice, they want to play. And then if they want to get good, but they struggle, they need to be practicing a lot. If they want to become great and they're not yet great, they need to be practicing a lot. And that's just the inescapable truth. Inescapable, the correct use of the word, but they can't. The player that asks what's the minimum number of shots I need to shoot in order to become great is not going to become great. If you're looking for the minimum amount of work, you're not going to be working hard enough to become really good at this. So it needs to be a lot if we want to become great. And then our goal as coaches is to make that fun, productive, and challenging. And if it's fun and challenging, players are going to want to do it. And they might not always want to do the productive work, but we need to find a way to make that fun and challenging.
What is coach? What is your suggestion for the fun for the shooting drill? How you can suggest, like, how you can do this for the youngsters when they have funny this thing?
I think the biggest thing is a small number of reps with a high amount of focus stretched out over a long period of time, stretched out over months, as opposed to doing an entire workout of deliberate form shooting. I think we have to remember that when we can give a very specific purpose that a player understands is valuable, something very simple that to the outsider can look boring can actually be enjoyable if it's challenging. And so if we can get a player to buy in that it is important to not be in this position, to learn to be in that position, and if that's hard for them to do, doing it in a simple environment will be challenging. And if they bought into the idea that it's important and this is challenging, that can be a version of fun. Maybe not the kind of fun that makes us laugh, but the kind of fun that that brings pride. And so again, I don't want to overwhelm players. I don't think we need to overwhelm players at a young age. I think we can get away with just planting seeds in here and there. But the biggest thing is making sure that they have bought into this will help. This is important, and you don't do this particularly well. If we can help them understand that, then boring things can become maybe not fun, but enjoyable or purposeful.
Thank you, Dave.
Pleasure. So, Klaus, can we do this again in another month or so with another topic?
Yes, I will.